This is the talk and story that I gave at the Apex Summit, right? So it's a little bit geared towards that, and I didn't rehearse it the way I wanted to. So I told Molly it's probably going to be similar, but a little bit different. And I'll start off by saying this is a really emotional story to tell for obvious reasons, because our son battled cancer for 3.5 years, and kind of talking this and telling this is reliving it, right? It was kind of a horrific time as a parent. And so I'll do my best to keep it together, but I should forewarn you that there's no guarantees. And before I even start, has anyone in here had a child with cancer story in their own life, a loved one, family? Okay, you have, so okay. If you haven't, you will, because it is on the rise, sadly. 43 kids a day. It's gone up, I don't know, 0.2% annually for the last 30 years. So the rates are going up, and the diagnosis rates are going up. The treatment rates are getting better, but there's still a massive amount that needs to be done, right? Shepard had the second most treatable form of childhood cancer, leukemia, acute lymphoblastic, B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and it took 3.5 years to beat it, right? So how is it that the second most treatable form of cancer takes 3.5 years of toxicity, and it has 85 to 90% survivorship rate? So we can do better. We have to do better, right? So this is Shepard's story, and I begin with this picture, and I'll kind of use the pictures to kind of keep it going. But this picture was when Shepard turned 2.
No, you're okay. You're fine.
No. Shepard turned 2 July 21st, 2011. And this is an important date for us because it was the last time he would have a birthday for 4 years where he didn't have chemo coursing through his veins, his body. And it also was a time when our family really felt a lot of bliss in life. And life was perfect. And because it's easy to take things for granted, I don't think that we necessarily knew really what it was. It would be just 1 month later, and for the second time in 2 days, we'd be rushing Shepard to the ER. He woke up early in the morning with very high fever, a lot of abdominal pain. His breathing was very rapid, real shallow, and we knew something wasn't right. The first time they sent us home after 5 hours, they didn't find anything. They did blood tests. They did a lot of tests that they would do the second time, but nothing cancer-related revealed itself. This was now August 23rd, 2011, and it took nearly 8 hours to confirm that he had cancer. So they did CAT scans, they did ultrasounds, they did lots of blood work. 11 in the morning, they called us, and they said, they didn't call us, they let us know that they were going to work on ruling out potential leukemia. So at that point, I didn't even know how to spell leukemia. We didn't know anything about it. And we thought because they were going to try and rule it out, it was something we didn't have to worry about. By 5 o'clock that afternoon, doctors came into Shepard's room. They asked that the grandmas, my mom and stepmom, would take Bila on a walk, and they sat us down and they said, "Sorry to tell you, your son has cancer." Right? So they're crushing words, and again, we didn't know anything about it, and it was very overwhelming. But this picture, I think, is important. It's getting harder to tell this with you here than I was with Chevy, but this was the point that they took Shepard and Mom, and they moved him from the St. Paul campus at Children's Hospitals and Clinics to the Minneapolis campus where the oncology department is. And maybe you've been, if you love your mail on the 7th floor, the best view of downtown Minneapolis that you never want to see. But what's crazy about this picture to me is looking at Jen. A mom, all she wants to do is take care of her kids. And when you get a cancer diagnosis, you're in over your head, and you gotta call them an infantry. So Shepard is just laying on his mom, waiting for mom to help, but mom knows that it's gonna take a lot more than she can give. So it's a powerful picture at the beginning of the diagnosis and the beginning of a 3.5-year campaign. I ran home to button down the house. Jen and Shepard were on the way to the Children's, and Bila was on the way to Jen's stepmom, her grandmother. And it was the first time our family was going in different directions. And so Bela was just 5 at the time. And I don't think at that point, other than Shepard was born, she had been away from you even for a night. So it felt, at the time that you wanted to bring the family together, we were going in different directions. And I remember calling my mom to say, Mom, this is going on. And trying to give her the details that we knew, even though we couldn't really remember anything at this point. The doctors were telling you things, but it's going in one ear and out the other, right? And when I got to the hospital, after a really emotional ride, I got up to the 7th floor, and right away the playroom's on the right. And I saw Shepard with his one hand raised in the air, his right hand with an IV in the back of it, and he had already adapted. He was drawing with his left hand, even though it was right-handed. And you get these little glimpses of hope, right? That I think he's gonna like show us the way through this, and he's already adapting to the situation. It became a powerful theme as his treatment went on. He had the ability to rise to the occasion, and it was stressful, and there would be tears falling, and it would hurt sometimes, but then he could quickly get past it. And it was remarkable how frequently he had to rise to the occasion and get past it. And I always thought it was the perfect way to attack cancer. It was completely efficient. He didn't get caught up in the emotional baggage of the rose to the occasion, got through it. And so the remark that I always used is, we watched him demonstrate perfectly the art of war to beat cancer. And that would not only go on for just, that first week we were in the hospital, but it went on for 3.5 years. And there's a photo of the very first dose of chemo Shepard had through his port. So when you arrive at the hospital, the very next day they schedule surgery. Woke up that morning, they put a port in his chest, a porta-cap, which would be pretty much his lifeline to all the major chemos. The reason they use a port is that the chemo is so strong, if they put it in normal IV veins, the veins would collapse over time. The port would attach to his chest, go up through his vein, and drop down to the top of his heart. His heart's a much stronger muscle. So it's a little scary to imagine all of that going through the heart, but it was a way that the body could tolerate the toxicity of the chemo. And so to access the port, it's a 3/4 of an inch long needle that they pierce the skin each time they access it. For 3.5 years, Shep, he has the scar, they removed it now, but he got to the point where he would even flinch when they put a big needle in his chest like that. And again, just this ability to adapt and rise to the occasion. In that first week, Shep did a lot of heavy lifting. We got a lot of chemo. The goal is to put the cancer into remission in 1 month. It takes a tremendous amount of chemo on a daily basis to be able to accomplish that. So another big part to the entire story is Big Sister Beulah. The power of a sibling and the ability to adapt, how bad we were getting cancer treatment, into a playpen, as everyone's noticed. The ability to know to challenge your brother, and then know when to comfort him. Be able to just sync that up perfectly. So it was really amazing to watch the two of them work in harmony. I think she did things we couldn't do, which were continue to challenge and discipline Shepard. She could do that. So it worked out really well, and you'll see throughout the presentation just the theme of Bela's presence and the power of the two of them. This was day 4. Day 3 or day 4, I'm not sure. But Shepard got the pass to go outside for the first time, and there's an enclosed playpen on the 2nd floor of Children's. It's kind of netted around it, and it's pretty restricted. You have to be perfectly healthy to go in. There's a lot of hand washing and signing off, and so Shepard was given the pass. And again, he had, still had stitches in his chest, and he had chemo going through his body, but he just wanted to play. And he came down the slide, and I just remember the smile, this picture that we captured, and I just thought, what a beautiful little boy. He was so narrow, and he weighed 20 pounds. And I remember thinking, how do I teach my 2-year-old son how to fight, right? And kind of attack this thing. And that was the wrong approach. That was me and my fears trying to push him on him. He already had the ability to do it within him. So it took a long time, even though we noticed his ability to rise to the occasion, it took a while to really grasp, the perfection of his battle. When he finally got home, the steroids started to kick in, and his 1,000-yard stare and this kind of glossy-eyed presence became real noticeable. And over the 3.5 years, he would take a lot of different steroids, and so we began to know this look. The steroids were so heavy at the beginning. Shepard weighed 20 pounds. By the end of month 1, he weighed 30 pounds. He had a 50% weight gain. His eating was so significant. There was a transformation that was going on in his body. The hard part about this time is he was really self-aware. So he, even at 2, he stopped giving kisses the majority of the time. If you tried to snap a photo of him, he would cover and shy away. And I think that there was a point where he didn't recognize himself. He didn't recognize this feeling he had. And I think he could see some of the reactions of people who hadn't seen him in a while, just like, oh my goodness, this transformation was taking place. And at the time, as a parent, you start to see the transformation, and you have all the fears, and you start to feel like you're kind of, losing sense of who your child is. You have this pre-cancer and post-cancer, and this was a really emotionally challenging time as a parent to go through just to see the transformation. The weight began to fall off, but then the hair loss kicked in, and his comfort level at the hospital also kicked in. This was a blood transfusion he was going to get, one of so many I can't even remember anymore. And the nurse, his favorite nurse at the time, came out and let him see the blood and feel it, this cold egg blood, just this comfort level. He walked out, and these transfusions take hours. The first 9 months when you go to the hospital, we're there 3 to 5 days a week. Some days 2, I guess, maybe some days up to 5, sometimes you're admitted in there. But these transfusion periods are hours and hours on end. So it becomes just this full-time job. The process, the transformation continuing. Every time that we would go to the hospital, we'd have to put this Emla cream on his chest, and that would be a little bit of a numbing agent to help with the pain, the access. But his port was so pronounced in his little body when I would give him shoulder rides, his port would poke me in the back of the head. It actually hurt. Or if he still wrestled, it always felt like I was always like grabbing on his port. And so he didn't seem to mind, but it was just kind of a hard reminder for me. But that's what it looks like when it's accessed. The needles are in and it's taped up. And you can see one tegaderm strip, which is about this big, essentially covers his entire chest. That's how small it is. The hospital, again, was just a place that we spend so much time. And I feel like we kind of watched this transformation take place where you went from an unwilling participant who only could, go through the process, go through the steps we put him, but over time he began to get older and he began to articulate his thoughts better, how he felt better. And so it was this really interesting process. Within the first few months, he learned how to swallow pills, and the amount of pills he would swallow on a daily basis was amazing. And he could swallow big pills, and the kind of stuff as an adult. Okay, so there, he would do it. He would knock him back every single night for nearly 3.5 years. At midnight, one of us would go into his room, wake him up, and give him chemo. 3.5 years on a daily basis. Unless his counts were crashed, or there was some disruption in his treatment. So this kind of groggy child, wake up, take chemo, and go and get back to sleep. Again, big sister Beal, I think this was the first Christmas we were together since he was diagnosed. These bags of chemo, I tried to steal one once because I just thought it would be something you want to have, and they didn't take us. Again, this tower, he named it Robot early on, and he's dragging around this tower playing so you could unplug it because it had a battery in it. So there were a couple times when he would run for it and yank his port out of his chest when it was accessed. He did it at home. So as a parent, or he would be wrestling and he'd fall and he'd bend the needle in his port. It was those days. A sweet little boy though, just hammering away. It's a picture I love because I think it perfectly illustrates just the two of them. And there's so many pictures we have when we were compiling this presentation. This theme just was over and over and over again. So it really, I'm glad we captured it because one day they'll have this. There's a type of chemo called vincristine that he got a lot of, and it's so hard on these little bodies that it actually caused neuropathy in the muscles. And neuropathy can cause permanent damage over time. So physical therapy is a big part of the treatment process. And Children's Hospitals and Clinics of Minnesota, the one in Minneapolis, had actually created these protocols to help combat this neuropathy. And so now the people in the physical therapy department, they cruise around the country and they're training other pediatric oncology clinics because it's so critical. If you don't make these corrections early on, and you have a young body that's still developing, these corrections will never get made, and they'll learn to compensate, and so the body would never work correctly. So if anybody's thinking about becoming a physical therapist, there's really incredible opportunities in that field as it pertains to childhood pediatric oncologists. This is a little boy about to get his port accessed. I love this picture again because what's on his shirt is what we put on him and we want him to do, but I think it's the smile and his attitude that really prevailed in his treatments. And one thing I'm not talking about is the grind of it. There's a lot of photos of him in hospital, but it is a daily grind and nausea, constipation that causes you to go to the hospital and be admitted, like chronic constipation from the chemo. The hair loss, the bone aches, the waking up because your bones ache, the cramps in your feet, the inability to sleep because of the steroids are keeping you up, and this general feeling of low energy, just really kind of not feeling great almost all of the time. This was a great moment because these are the types of outfits that he chose. This is at a bike race in Stillwater, and I just think, yeah, way to go. And back to the hospital. It's funny when you're going through the process how you have these moments of normal life. You always have this kind of stress that never seems to go away, but then you're back in the hospital. You kind of just have this rotation, and thankfully Shepard was able to adapt to more hospital time, more Thor, one of the Spider-Man today. So Shep loves superheroes, which is a great thing. Love Your Melon does, because it actually is a nice connection point with the kids, because there's a lot of themes around kids battling cancer, of course, and being superheroes. A lot of fevers along the way, a lot of infections along the way. When you have plans as a family to do one thing, the next thing you do is you're ending up in a hospital, and it derails whatever you were hoping to do that day or that weekend. So in conjunction with all of the planned treatments, there's so many times when, on a Friday night or a Saturday morning, you call the oncologist. Any time a fever went to 101.5, they automatically bring you in. So that happens a lot. It's a pretty low threshold. But if there's an infection, they have to immediately catch it. The theme continues. Again, this was a trip. We did take trips as a family, so we would really start to plan these trips around his treatments, and we would figure out how when we could do it. We live by numbers, where we get his blood counts every single week. We knew when his immunity was up, when it was crashing, so you could kind of forecast where he was going to be. And I forget even some of the counts now that were so internalized at the time.
500, anything below 500.
Anything below 500. And that was, what's the? ANC. This picture now is massive on our wall in our house. This is a good reminder of how tight they're. Fight continue. As big as you, buddy, huh? Right back to the hospital. I think this is the beginning of a really tough period. Because of all the chemo and the crashing immunity, you are always susceptible to infection. And this period was really scary. Man, this is not it. I'll jump the gun. I'll get to that. This is just probably something else, a mild infection. The other one's coming. This was a terrible day. When your child gets cancer, you expect that the will stop, but life doesn't stop. Shepard, Jennifer got a new vehicle, and the kids wanted to go play around it. And the hatchback was open, and Shep was climbing around the back seats. He took a 5-foot header to the ground, fractured his skull, his middle ear, broke his jaw, broke his collarbone in one fall. And it was one of those, like, you're so angry and sad and scared. It was a crushing moment. But again, he just marched right through it. And probably have to let me tell the story again, but that evening, he was so hungry because it happened right before dinner time. So he didn't get dinner. A head injury, they have to kind of navigate everything and make sure they understand what the injury is before they let him eat. And now he's got a cracked jaw too. But he was sitting in the hospital. He hadn't had pain meds yet. Eating a chicken nugget. There was a Burger King across the street. And I think it was 8 o'clock at night now, so I think we missed the cafeteria. So we run over there and he's sitting there eating it. And the ER guy was like, how's the jaw's broken? He's eating away. So you feel like his pain threshold really rose. he did go on a Make-A-Wish trip, and it involved superheroes, and so it was a fantastic trip. But soon after getting home from that, on Christmas Day, he woke up with a fever, and over the course between Christmas and New Year's, he really kind of hit a downward spiral, and ultimately was admitted into the hospital. And it was scary because during this period, they didn't know what was going on. So after a little more than a week in the hospital, we kind of had a moment with the oncologist where we said, look, we can't wait anymore. Get a team together. We want to build a team around Shepard and start looking at every system of the body. We want to figure out what's going on here. It's not knowing after you had been knowing for so long was just crushing. And so they did a bone aspiration. They actually put a big needle into the lower back, all the way into the body, and they go at the top of the, do you remember the shot? And at the top of the femur, and they go right through the bone, and they get into the bone marrow, and they do a nice sample. It's really rich bone marrow sample. And then they studied it, and the big fear was reoccurrence or relapse. But what it ultimately showed was something called histoplasmosis, which is a fungal infection endemic to the Mississippi River Valley. If you've ever had a weekend cold or a cough, you may have had this 80 to 90% of the population here get this, right? So we can all have it in our lungs. Because Shep had such low immunity, his was disseminated histoplasmosis. It went system-wide, it went into his entire body. And the infection took such a hold on his body, he had an autoimmune response, something called HLH or hemophagocytosis. Where even the white cells his body were producing, which were already compromised because of the chemo that he was taking, now begin to attack themselves. So much so that he had no white blood count in his body at all. They were drawing out 25 mils of blood, overnighting into a hospital in Cincinnati, where they took a hemoc clinic. They have a lot of blood scientists there. They couldn't find a single white blood cell, so his body was attacking itself before it could even combat it. And if you have HLH, you have a 50% mortality rate. It's very high. It's very scary. So now he's got HLH, disseminated histoplasmosis, and he has cancer. This collision of items. They had to pause the treatment for the cancer, get the histoplasmosis under control before the HLH would stop and reverse the effects. So his team, after we were yelling at them to build a team, now we had a team of, you're going to have to help here, infectious disease. His liver began to fail. They began to prepare us for transplant. So we had his renal team, and then his heart went into failure because he went sideways. And this is, so they rushed him to the ICU, and so now we had a cardiologist, he had an ICU doc, he had his oncologist, he had pancreatitis, so he had tremendous pain in his stomach, and this was all happening. So this ended up 23 days in the hospital, probably the scariest period for all of us. You can see the tower now, the number of pumps. You see this good shot. He was hooked up so much so that the other day he asked, what in the world were they doing to me? His pumps now, he had 2 racks here, right? He had all these pumps going that they had to perfectly time and change out his IV so that they could get him all the different meds needed for everything that he was combating. They wanted to add additional lines, PICC lines, into his body, but we pushed back on it. We were so fearful of additional infection, and we were even cautious to, when they took blood, how they did, we just wanted no contamination at all. So after 23 days, Shep was no longer walking. He wasn't talking very much. There were periods where he was breathing so shallow, and he was so bloated from the fluids in his body that you try to match his little breathing, and it felt like, when you're watching a movie, somebody's like underwater, and you kind of get that suffocating feeling. I could not match his breathing. Just like he did that for days and days and days. It was really a remarkable period. And this is where Bila popped up again perfectly. When nobody was really paying attention, she was drawing this picture on this board. And this side is Bila, this side is Shepard, but they're one. It's just really a sweet way to, connect with your brother. When I look at you guys have tears.
Good.
But again, just this really intuitive response to kind of show how she loved her brother. So just the time in the hospital again, can see the massive rack of pumps, and I was on the other side because the tower was bending and had so many different pumps on it. And we would push our bed up next to Shepard's, and we would hold his hand all night long, pretty much every day. You can see the sick little boy just kind of putting his hard work in. And this is the day he got out. He was still so taxed and so weak and hardly walking. But they let us out after 23 days. And 6 days a week, we would give him IVs up to 3 to 4 hours a day at home, where his treatment would continue just to help to get the histoplasmosis and to back in. Now, Jen was just 4 months of this at home. It was remarkable at the time. So Jen was a nurse prior to having kids, which made home therapy very helpful, but she would hook all of the stuff up. She wouldn't access the port. We'd go into the hospital, get access the port, give him his first treatment that day, and then the next 5 days at home, she would set all the pumps, and over the course of several hours on the couch, Shepard would get his IVs. And the fight would come back. This time, this is Wolverine, right, Shep? Oh, with Wolverine. Toothpicks, tape them back in. Oh, yeah, I do. You know, just these, the grind. But this is interesting because now you see Shepard starting to get older. That's just the attitude he adapted. And then December 20th, 2014, he completed his last chemo. So his treatment for cancer was done, but it would be 4 more months that we continued to treat him for histoplasmosis. And then it took up until just recently that they said there was no sign of histoplasmosis. So years of it in his body. That's how long it took to fight it. And in April of 2014, he had his port removed. And that was a big deal because that thing had been, such a hard worker for him. They didn't let us keep it. But we got out of the hospital that morning, noonish, and Vila had a track meet that night. And we're watching Vila on the track. I'm turning around, and Shep was halfway over a 10-foot tall fence. He still had stitches in his chest, right? And the first instinct was to run over there, because you're so fearful of him. But it really exemplified everything had been through perfectly. And kind of the metaphor was that he was, he climbed his way out of this situation. And so, snapped a photo, and it's really kind of a neat photo. It's a nice silhouette of him on the fence. But I'll end with this because I think that this is the powerful statement. This is the hard work that Love Your Melon does. And one thing I didn't mention is I'm also on the board of directors for Cure Search for Children's Cancer, which is one of your partner groups, right? And so the ending was these two, they're a duo, and they're a team, and together they killed cancer. And at Cure Search, we're on to some big things. We've got a world-class scientific advisory committee. All we focus on is trying to find a cure for kids with cancer. And I met Zach almost a year ago. I had somebody, they didn't tell me who I was going to meet, but it was the Pinky Square organization. They said, you got to come up and meet Zach. They're looking, Love Your Melon is looking to have a research partner as well. I showed up with coffee. Zach had a lot of questions for us, good questions, hard questions. You have a good leader with Love Your Melon and Love Your Melon. And he really grilled us hard. And I brought out another board member who's the vice chairman of U.S. Bank. So you can imagine this is a pretty sophisticated guy. We both left the meeting going, holy smokes, this young kid's got a lot of dumb questions. But the point is that, when we formed a partnership, I didn't know that Zach was going to show up with the money. And that's all of you guys, 11,000 of you guys at college campuses across the country. Not only are you raising money and helping to fund research to find a cure, but you're spreading so much information. When our son was diagnosed, we knew nothing about childhood cancer. When I was in college, I knew less than nothing about most things. 11,000 people educating their peers about childhood cancer. That is a tidal wave of information, and I honestly believe in my heart that this partnership is going to be something that we're celebrating victories one day. So I appreciate it immensely. It was a pleasure to be here tonight to talk to you. Thank you very much. Shepard the Hammer. Does anyone have any questions or anything that? one thing I'll share with you too, taking us apart is, you know, at the board meetings, they're really formal, far more formal than I am. But I can tell you that there's a lot of conversations about Love Your Melon and stuff that you're doing on the grounds. So if you ever feel dislocated, I'm telling you right now, you are really, truly making a difference. Really, really making a difference. And I don't just say that lightly because our lives are invested in finding care, right? So we're really appreciative.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If there's ever anything I can do, we're committed to the cause. So just let us know. And Molly has a big phone, of course. McLaren and his family. I don't know if I said it, McLaren is our family.
Yes,
So.
I'm Matt's cousin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Our moms are sisters. My mom's the oldest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Claire's the
Matt-
youngest.
yeah.
I didn't know that. Cool.
And I'm only 25. I love it.
They laugh really hard.
I know. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
This is a kid.
Did you guys already have spring break?
No.
A week and a half. Yeah, we're
Doing
gonna travel.
anything?
Yes.
California.
Yeah.
No,
So what's it?
Or it's next week.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Wow, that's perfect. So you
Yeah.
guys take two Apex and I'll say one thing because Shepard and I did get to come out to Apex, and I hope that they invite us back next year. Work hard because that's a pretty sweet experience, isn't it, Molly?
Yeah.
It was well done.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, and it was powerful. I felt like everyone who was there really got a cool experience and left pretty
Oh, it's
enriched by it. So.
Sheila, did you come up with a name for your fish?
no, not yet.
Like, that's Shepard. Yeah.
Spike,
Yeah.
Like,
don't give them too much of a rocky road.
I was so scared in the car. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't, let me get him there.
That's an awesome.
Are there extras in your car just in case?
Hopefully there's Petco right over there. I'll be fine. If anything happens.
That's awesome.
What'd you get in your guys' bag? What'd you get, Mila?
What's that?
Do you guys know clothes?
Yeah, literally just a few blocks this way, right down Cleveland.
Oh,
There's an old church on Cleveland. It's turned into a house.
oh yeah, those are,
No, we didn't. So every year,
Yeah.
and 3
Well, that-
years you worked at this, right?
Yeah, because I attended the first year
Yeah,
and then worked ever since.
yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so every year in August, the first year we did it, it was an opportunity to kind of strike back against this cancer. But we have almost 200 guests come to our home every year in August, and we've raised a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
Maybe now. So it's a fun night. We have live auctions, silent auctions. McLaren's father, who's on the radio, is our MC. It's a lot. It's really a lot of.
It's pretty
bands.
amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's impressive. We're lucky to have a huge community around us that really kind of.
Every August you do that?
Yeah, every August. Yeah, we'll send notices out if you guys.
Yeah.
It is a fun
It's
event. Yeah.
pretty amazing that what goes on there.
Yeah, I think last year we netted and donated $62,000, and that's just this is grassroots, right? This is our family and
Yeah,
friends in the
friends.
community. Yeah, it's really cool,
It's
and it's
amazing.
turned into a fun event. That's
It's
something I think
really,
people-
really fun.
Yeah, we love it. So McLaren is like the head of it now. So
I wouldn't put that much
you
title to me yet.
you do a lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
should we get out of your hair unless you get something done here tonight?
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank you.
so much.
Yeah. I will be anywhere, anytime for this cause. So we will be.
Don't forget all your umbrellas.
Thank you for the all this Christmas cake.
Yeah.
Chef, we get a picture of your fish. No, your fish. Let's get a picture of your fish.
One last picture before.
Right. Be like, you want to get a picture?
Actually, can we get a picture with all of you guys and the kids
Yeah,
real
it's
quick?
all
That'd be
Sure.
awesome for us.
Okay, ready, Chef? Oh wait, do you want to get in it too?
I'm sending
No, let's
you.
get your fish.
One, two, three. Too bad you guys aren't cute.
Here, Chef, I'll take your fish. You hold this up so that we have a loving melon.
Oh, perfect.
All right.
It's gonna be heavy.
Where do you put the fish? Here.
Awesome.
Where'd you put it? Guys?
Sorry. No, you're okay.
Ready? Do a couple. Molly, I'll send this to you and Clarence. Awesome.
Thank you
all
for
very much.
coming.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you. Jackets.
Shep your jacket, but can't do it yet.
It's kind of cold outside. It's raining. Whatever. It's been raining. We have our fish. That's all we get.
Nice to fish.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Yeah. Nice job as always. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. See my face.
so much.
I'm gonna check.
Yes.
You better keep good care of them.